So we're sitting at the bar, and this brother from the States is like preaching to them about how they strong black men and they shouldn't be letting white people come to Zanzibar and run Zanzibar. And do you remember who you are? You are a warrior. You are a strong black man. You are an African man. And how you letting these white people come over here and talk down to you and run your shit and all this. And I was just like, oh. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Blaxit to Africa. I'm Tadre Delora Moignet, a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for coming along for the ride. I hope that you are informed, entertained, and inspired to Blaxit to Africa. I'm laughing because I have some new subscribers and we met up and they were like, yeah, we were definitely entertained and we loved your stories, but honestly, some of that stuff is not inspiring to Blacks to Africa. I'm like, mm. I thought about it. I was like, yeah, they probably right. They probably right. I have so much that I want to talk about and I don't really know how I want to frame it up. And a big part of me just wants to talk to you. As the uncles used to say, just come here, let me rap to you. Let me rap to you for a little bit. I kind of just want to talk my shit. It's a lot on my heart and on my mind. Okay, let me start with the first thing. You know, TT always got her notes so I can stay on track. So I got my notes, and you know, I am in full auntie mode. I have embraced it. I've got my tea. This new tea, I've never tried it. It's cassia seed tea. It's supposed to be nutty. It tastes a little bit of buttery. Um, it's cool. It's a very, very light tea that I'm sipping on today. A lot happening in the world. Let's start with one thing first. Let's do a little housekeeping. So it looks like I'm actually a content creator. Here we are, full law degree, degree in sociology and African studies, and now I'm here as a content creator. And because I'm a content creator, I do need your support. Um, there's so many different ways that you can support me to keep this content going and to enhance, improve the production, the sound, all of that. And the easiest thing for you to do is just subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It influences the algorithm so much. I would greatly appreciate it. I believe, and you've told me that this is really informative, valuable, entertaining, and I would like more people to see it. So just subscribe. If you want to do a little bit more, there's a link in the description where you can buy me a coffee. I will use that money to actually get a mic, a better mic. I want to start doing more vlogs. I'll get into that. But getting one of those, what is it called? A GoPro that I could just literally attach to my forehead and go around the city with and send you the sights and sounds of wherever I am. I would love to be able to do that. So that's an option. You can also show love through a super or a thanks. That'll probably show up at the bottom in a heart. You know, if everyone sends a little bit, it will mean a whole lot. Um, Another way that you can show support is by booking a consultation. Uh, I sigh because part of being an entrepreneur is really just valuing what you bring to the table and determining what you would charge for your services. And there was one podcast episode that I watched, and the guest said, what would you charge if you were not afraid? And that's something that I ask myself every time someone calls on me for my services. Tadre, what would you charge if you were not afraid? And I know that as far as this consultation, Blaxit consultation game goes, I know that I'm one of the best. I know that people are empowered and informed. I know that folks is walking away with tangible goods that will help them propel forward in their Blaxit journey. So I know that I'm worth it. And if you're watching this and you're really considering Blaxiting, please book a consultation with me or with someone else that you feel comfortable with. Now that we've got that out of the way, I was looking through some documents on Google Drive and I found this old document from 2020, and this was before COVID. This was prior to the Ugandan elections, and I was planning on doing this Blaxit to Africa pod with the homie Josh. Shout out to Josh. Josh felt something in his spirit. And we were in Uganda together. And he was just like, nah, fam, I'm going back to London. Because he's Ugandan descent, but he grew up in London. And I got it because the Ugandan elections were getting ready to happen. It got a little wild. Even for those of us who was on the sidelines. And then COVID happened, and I was just there in Kampala. But reading these old documents, I was like, oh my God, it came true. Me formulating what I wanted to do, which is shift paradigms and show people that you could live a rich and beautiful life in Africa. And I think I've been able to do that. And I want to continue to do more of it. A lot of what I do on this pod is really talking and showing statistics and telling anecdotes. However, I want to show you my woo-woo life, my romantic life, and how I've just finessed it and I'm comfortable here, sometimes in solitude, and how you can have that beauty and that access, and you can also shape your life in Africa how you see fit. And now looking forward, or now being in the present, here we are, season 3, and I've done what I've set out to do, and I want to do more. Hence the GoPro, hence the vlogs. I'll be doing more of those in the future. Now, something has really just been on my heart and it's been on my mind to say. And I'm going to speak in my authentic voice, which is generally AAVE, African American Vernacular English. And that is to sit your ass down. Let me say it again. I want to say to y'all who are African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, Afro-Europeans, that are coming to Africa and the developing world to start anew. I want all of y'all, and I say this in love, please go somewhere and sit your ass down. Why do I say this? It's because y'all are intense, very much intense. And life in the developed world, in this packaging, whatever variation of this packaging that you happen to come in, is stressful. We know it's stressful. That's why you want to come here. But you come here not having done the work, not having set your ass down, and then you bleed all over everybody. Let me look at my notes a little bit. Life in the developed world, in this packaging, as a person of African descent, you've been in survival mode all your life and you don't even know it. You accustomed to the trauma. You're accustomed to the macroaggressions, the microaggressions, and you figured out how to survive in it. In some cases, you figured out how to thrive in it. That don't mean that you've healed from it, because in order to heal from something, the trauma, the hurt, the pain, it needs to stop. Now, I'm not saying sit your ass down where you are, because you could do that. You can go on vacation. You can have a self-care day. You can meditate. You could go on different retreats. But when you go back to that environment, you right back in the belly of the beast. What I'm recommending is that wherever you land, whether it's Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, Thailand, Portugal. I'm not going to go there. Latin America. When you go there, find a place where you can be with yourself, where you can ground in nature, wherever your favorite place happens to be. Me personally, I prefer the ocean. So for me, it was the Indian Ocean. Maybe you prefer the mountains, Mount Meru, Mount Kenya area, Nanyuki. Maybe you prefer lakes. Maybe you prefer rivers. Please, maybe you prefer forests. Go somewhere and ground yourself for about 6 to 8 months before you say, now I got to get to the city. I'm going to Nairobi. I'm coming to Accra. I'm going to Joburg. Like, seriously, there is a rest revolution that is happening. There is a nap ministry that has been created for us to just reconnect to our bodies and calm the fuck down. This needs to happen for your Blaxit experience to be successful. I say this because I've seen some craziness. I've heard some craziness, and I'm just like, oh, okay, you're a lot. You're still caught up in the dramatization of the United States. You're still caught up on that constant hustle mode of the UK. All right, but you sound crazy to the rest of us, and you look a little crazy. All right, so let me just say this. You've got some unprocessed trauma that you don't even know is within you. Some of it's not even yours. It's been passed down to you from your ancestors. You haven't even dealt with this trauma. And coming straight from London to Nairobi, that's not going to be the move for you. Okay? Coming straight from Philly to Dar es Salaam, that's not going to be a good look. You're going to have a lot of hurdles. For all of us who are descendant of those who were enslaved and or colonized, we don't know what it's like to truly rest. To rest is really a revolution. We have to be productive constantly. This is the training. And I am unlearning this as I speak. Decolonizing my mind is a constant effort because my training says that I should be constantly productive. Now, let me give you an example of some craziness. All right? A brother I knew came to Zanzibar while I was there. And because I was there, he chose Zanzibar. He had never been to Africa before. He hadn't necessarily come to see me. He just wanted to experience Africa, and I made Africa look real good. So he arrives on this tiny, slow archipelago, and he's coming with all his traumas. Prime example, I take him to a local bar, and the bar is manned by Maasai men. Okay, these are not the warrior class. These are men that have made it to Zanzibar who are hustling. All right, and so they're dressed in their traditional wear. And for those of you who don't know, Maasai men are often used as props in East Africa. Okay, they're not gonna harm nobody, very kind, but because we have this image, this fairy tale image of them as being warriors, which some of them are, of being very strong and capable, which some of them are. However, most of them, they're just regular people like you and I. So they're used as props at resorts and hotels. They're made to look like security, and sometimes they work the bar in this case. So we're sitting at the bar, and this brother from the States is like preaching to them about how they're strong black men and they shouldn't be letting white people come to Zanzibar and run Zanzibar. And do you remember who you are? You are a warrior. You are a strong black man. You are an African man. And how you let these white people come over here and talk down to you and run your shit and all this. And I was just like, oh. He was so animated and he was so fired up. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to stop him. The Maasai bartenders was looking at me like, and then they were trying to figure out how to escape, but the bar is only so big. They just turned their backs, politely turned their backs, and tried to make themselves busy. This is the type of foolishness I'm talking about. Now, was he completely wrong? No, he wasn't. However, it was his delivery, and also his delivery without context. That's what I'm talking about. And almost every time I interact with Afro-Caribbeans, Afro-Europeans, African Americans, it's the same story, to the point where in our Blaxit to Kenya group, they had to pin a message to tell people, like, listen, what y'all talking about is not what this group is for. Obviously, there's a lot of trauma. You need to get a healing, but you can't get that here. Essentially, what I'm saying is that there's a part of you that will have to die in order for you to fully self-actualize. That part of you that is hurt, that is tormented, that has had to have your head on swivel your whole life, that part of you must heal and die for you to live fully in your new home. Otherwise, you're just going to bleed all over people. Folks is not going to want to be around you. It's just too intense. You're going to need to shake that trauma off before you truly settle into your new home and your new way of life. And I speak from experience, because Zanzibar was supposed to be my forever home. And I was there really living a good life. I created a video where I talked about why I left Zanzibar. Those reasons are real, they're legit. However, that's not to say that I didn't receive benefits, that I wasn't able to enjoy myself there, because I did, until I had had enough. And one of the things that Zanzibar afforded me the opportunity to do is to decompress from the United States. I lived a 50-second walk from the Indian Ocean. If I stepped out my cottage and stepped to the right, I could see the ocean. And the ocean was like my road. It was faster to walk the ocean to get to the local market, to get to my Swahili teacher, than it was to take the tarmac road. I played in the water. I meditated. I swam in that salt water. And I thought I was just living my life until someone called me to be featured on a show, and they were asking me my reason for moving to Zanzibar, and was part of that reason racism. And ultimately, I came to the conclusion that yes, racism in the United States is one of the primary reasons why I moved to Zanzibar. Because if everything was a-okay and I was moving along in life in the way that I envisioned, in a way that I would have truly enjoyed and been able to fully self-actualize, I probably wouldn't have been in Zanzibar living. Visiting, yes, but living, no. And it was in that realization that I became cognizant of the fact that within the 6 to 8 months that I had been there, I was decompressing from the USA. That's how long it took me to just shake that trauma off, to really recalibrate my central nervous system, to become fully human, to relax and not being productive all the time, to stop and greet somebody and look them in the eye instead of this, hey, how you doing, that I had grown accustomed to in the US. So I say all that to say, please, I implore you, before you settle on your final resting place or your resting place for the foreseeable future, please go somewhere in nature and ground yourself for however long is possible, is necessary. for however long is necessary. For me, I needed 6 to 8 months. You might need longer. You might need a little bit less time. Whatever it is, do it. You deserve it. You are owed it. And in a place where your dollar stretches so far, your pound, your euro stretches so far, you can afford to do it. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Blaxit to Africa. If you like what you heard, please share, subscribe, and leave a comment. May you thrive. May you be inspired. May you move with love and intention. Until next time.